really rubbing it in and just making sure that all her natural freckles show through, and taking that down the neck as well. I'm not really going to be setting anything because we do have a powder and I'm going to be powdering her later. And again, I do want to keep this look fairly glowy. So I'm just going to be powdering later on in the areas where I feel need a bit of powder, but keeping the base very natural. And after that, I'm going to be taking a bit of concealer underneath the eyes with a damp sponge, and I'm just going to be stippling that to kind of brighten and color correct that area. A bit around the mouth and nose and the chin as well. And I'm making sure to really press that in and pat it in because I really want that glowy look. And now that we're done with the base, we can start with the eye makeup. And I've primed her eyes with a very neutral eye primer just all over the eyes, from the lash line up to the brow bone. And now we can start with the fun stuff. So the first product that I'm going to take is the Floris's Flowery Gaze eyeshadow palette. And the shade that I'm taking is 521 Mermaid in Moonlight. And as you can see, this is a very light-toned lilac eyeshadow palette. It's very dreamy, it's very ethereal, and you have this beautiful lilac shimmer in there as well. What I'm going to be doing with this is I'm going to be taking that peachy matte color and the cream color and blending them in to set the eyes. So starting from the brow bone all the way down to the lash line. And I'm focusing that on the brow bone to highlight that area. And taking that down the neck as well. I'm not really going to be setting anything because we do have a powder and I'm going to be need a bit of powder. Such a beautiful ethereal look and it has all these purple reflects in it. And I'm blending the edges with the same crease brush that I used for the coral. Repeating the same steps on the other eye. I'm pretty impressed that this has very minimal to no fallout, and that is why I haven't powdered the skin, because I love seeing what the eyeshadow is going to do. Now that we have that shimmery, glittery lilac on the lids, I'm going to be going back into that coral and diffusing the bronze underneath the lower lash line because I feel like I want to create more of a continuity with the color story because that coral has been placed throughout the crease. So mimicking the colors that you place on top is always a good idea to balance the look. And going back into my Bright and Sunset palette, I'm going to be taking that really light pearl color, and this is a glimmer shade, so it's going to deposit this really beautiful kind of a reflect pearl throughout the eyelids. And this is a very finely milled powder, and it has a colorless base, so it looks like scattered diamonds across the skin. And this would make for a very pretty highlighter too, but it's going to be very glittery, so if you want that very glittery, intense, ethereal look, then this would be a great one to use. I want to go for something softer on the cheeks, but still very glowy. So I'm going to be taking this Eastern Beast sculpting palette, which is so beautiful. I haven't used this before, and it pains me to use this. I'm going to be taking that setting powder shade, and I'm going to be applying it very lightly underneath the eyes. I just want to see what this is going to be doing and what this looks like on Livia, and it is a very soft focus finish. So applying that just underneath the eyes. For the rest of the face, I'm going to be taking the Peach Blossom setting powder. And with a big fluffy brush, I'm going to be applying that very lightly throughout the entire face and setting it very, very lightly. This doesn't have a color deposit, but with these invisible powders, I always prefer to use less because if you do use a lot with any type of powder that is invisible or has no color to it, it could cause flashback. And you always want to use it on skin that hasn't been set. And when you do this, it really gives this beautiful airbrushed velvety finish without it looking flat or matte or heavy. It's so beautiful. Going back to that palette, I'm going to be taking the blush shade and I'm going to be placing it high up on the cheekbones and on the apples of the cheeks. So almost in the areas that I would contour, but obviously a bit higher up because it is a blush shade. And again, because I want Livia to have this very glowy, healthy look, I mean, we're going for mermaid glam, so she has to. With that same palette, I'm going to be taking the highlighter shade with a fluffier tapered brush and starting on the high points of the cheekbones and blending that into the brow bone and across the cheekbones. By doing this, as she turns, you're going to get this beautiful C-shaped highlight that is going to emphasize the eyes and the cheeks at the same time. And taking a bit down the bridge and tip of the nose. For the next product, I'm going to be taking the Blooming Rouge Love Lock lipstick, and this is the Pearl edition, which is so beautiful. I mean, these lipsticks are immaculately engraved. I hate using them because I don't want to use them. I just want to have them displayed. And I always have doubles. So it pains me less, but they are incredible. I'm starting with the color Yes I Do, which is M521. And this is a new shade. It is a mid-tone rose pink. And the finish on these lipsticks are matte, but they have a very silky, hydrating finish. I've already lined her lips with a brown pencil, and I feel like the pink and the brown are gonna mix beautifully for this look. And using a lip brush, you kind of get this very diffused, soft, airy lip color. And because I am blending that lip liner at the same time, so this is the perfect method to do that. And to really melt that color into the lips and just make it look like it's lit from within. I'm going to be taking a bit of that Pearly Glimmer shade in the Bride and Sunset palette and placing a bit of that on the center of the lips to create more dimension, because again, we're going for this very mermaid-like look, and I want to see how this looks like on top of the lipstick. And placing a bit of that on the Cupid's bow as well. I'm emphasizing that with the highlighter in the sculpting palette that I used earlier. I'm also going to be trying out the other lipstick. So this is the other Blooming Rouge Love Lock lipstick. Again, it is also in the Pearl edition, and this is in the shade I Love You, which is M520. And this is their iconic bright warm red. And I'm going to be swatching that on the back of my hand so you can really see that beautiful color. And I'm going to be taking the same brush that I used for my base and take that color and then stipple it on top of the cheeks and the highlighter that I did, because I want to melt everything together and I want to see how this looks like as blush. And again, this is going to really add more to that dewy look by creating that seamless skin-like finish. And I love how this looks. It really blended in with that highlighter without disrupting any of the layers. And this is my final full face of Floris's look. I really hope you enjoyed this very ethereal mermaid.